All right, let's talk about some other potential lineups. I don't know if you have any alternative lineups, if you've gotten that far, because let's be honest, you know, PJ Tucker's likely going to start. Doc Rivers is going to run with the five that he knows best and the experienced players, right? But I'm going to give you a sneaky, underrated lineup, and I'm going to tell you why I think it could actually work. Hear me out. And if this happens, you can reference back to this show because I don't think anybody's talked about this lineup yet. But think about this potential lineup, right? Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Danuel House at the 3, Tucker at the 4, and Joel Embiid at the 5. Now, like I said, the likeliness of that happening, probably none. But here's how it would impact the Sixers. Number one, we just talked about the heavy dose of pick and roll, right? You can run it with both Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, along with Joel Embiid. You could either have James Harden running it dominantly with Maxey on the weak side. But what it really does is it gives you two high-clip three-point shooters. It gives you two guys that are familiar with James Harden, and you can spread the floor a lot better. Danuel House shot above 41% from 3 last year. Tucker shot above 40%. You can spot them up in the corners. You can run that heavy dose of pick and roll, which is almost unstoppable with James Hart, with a healthy Harden and Joel Embiid, or even Tyrese Maxey. And also what it does, when you have some questions about your bench, if some of these guys don't get consistent minutes, if they don't show up, you can plug a guy like Tobias Harris into that 6-man role. And let's be honest, against second-tier, third-tier players, Tobias is going to feast. He's going to go off. Again, he makes too much. It won't happen. But that's my idea of the underrated, sneaky good lineup for the Sixers. And I think it would work, man.
Yeah, I definitely think that would work, and honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if let's say they do run that lineup a decent amount this season, and then you get to the NBA season and you get to the end of the season and you look at all the efficiency numbers. I wouldn't be totally shocked if that's the most efficient lineup out of all of the lineups they run throughout the whole season. Because I mean, I've been saying for a long time I don't think Tobias Harris is the perfect fit next to Joel Embiid. I'll take him as the 3rd/4th option. I would have preferred to trade him just because of the contract, but it is what it is. It's not a negative to have Tobias Harris on your team. But at the same time, when you look at James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, if you're looking at that as a potential 1, 2, 3 threats to score in the NBA, the two guys you would want at the small forward and power forward would be high percentage, high volume 3-point shooters. And Tobias Harris tried to kind of mold himself into that a little bit more last season when James Harden joined, and he did a good job of it with kind of retraining his mind to like just shoot it right when you catch it. Don't hesitate. Don't jab. Don't try to go into triple threat. You're not taking anybody off the dribble. Just knock it off and shoot the ball. But, yeah, I think that might actually make more sense. It's just that, it's not going to happen because of the contract. And, some people think Tobias has a little bit of an ego also. Would he be happy being the 6th man? He kind of feels like he earned that $180 million. I am one of the guys. I was one of the guys on that Jimmy Butler team. I deserve that contract. I'm this. Maybe I don't know. I don't take him that way personally because I just think he's a really nice guy if I had to guess. But yeah, that lineup might be more efficient than having Tobias Harris in the starting lineup at all, but it is what it is. He's there.
Yeah, I agree. And another way that it actually impacts the team, one, it makes us more of a versatile defensive lineup, right? Because Danuel House is kind of a two-way wing, right? He can bring a little more athleticism. He can guard a couple different positions. And having him next to PJ Tucker, who is essentially another guy that can do that, would be good for this team. I think we need more of that, especially on the perimeter. And one more way that I think it really impacts his team is what you just referenced. Tobias Harris, is a guy, once again, that at points needs the ball in his hands, right? And when we talk about this team not being traditional, right? Joel Embiid is a guy that also needs the ball in his hands. So at what point do we sit here and look and we say, we have too many dominant ball handlers, man? Tyrese Maxey, Harden, Embiid. You go and add another shooter. Danuel House isn't going to put it on the floor. He's going to sit up on the wing and knock down some shots. Tucker going to spot up in the other corner. knock down some shots. And I just think Tobias would be more utilized, right? Coming off that 6-man role, especially when we need more scoring and efficiency. But like you said, I don't think it's going to happen. Just an idea I had. But yeah,
At the same time, also, I've seen a lot of times where Doc Rivers would have a bench lineup out there, and the only starter on the floor was Tobias Harris, and it looked like he couldn't get a bucket to save his life without having some kind of creator on the floor too. So it's almost like, at times, I'm like, what is Tobias Harris? Are you an off-ball player, or are you an on-ball player? I don't even know sometimes. So I don't know if he's a 6-man really. There are times where he looks like one. There's times where he looks like, he's just, I guess inconsistent is really the word you would use for Tobias Harris in general. Sometimes he's a threat to drop 30. Sometimes he's like just a guy out there.
I just think the way that he plays, the style that he has always possessed, he needs the ball in his hands sometimes. And, are there enough touches to go around? And that's where we get to points like we had last year where we're thinking, why is Tyrese Maxey so passive in the offense? But then we sit here and think, oh, well, Harden and Embiid are running a dominant pick and roll, and Tobias Harris also needs the ball, and Maxey also needs the ball. So, maybe we'll get some more shooting, some more high volume shooting from Tobias. But how about you? Any other potential lineups you like? I know we'll talk a little bit about the bench as well. What do you think? Any other efficient potential stagger swaps? What do you think?
Are we talking about as far as a starting lineup? I think that one that you mentioned would have the most potential to be one. I guess if players have rest nights, if players have a little bit of a tweaked ankle or something like that, I could see that lineup being a major one. I think people are definitely underestimating DeAnthony Melton and the role that he's going to play on this team, and I just think he's gonna earn a lot of minutes on this squad just because he's a prototypical combo guard that can kind of fit anywhere. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a lot of DeAnthony Melton on this team. A guy that is not afraid to shoot it. 8 3-point attempts per 36 and shoots high 37% on those attempts. Athletic, 24 years old, can get up and down. So I'm not sure about an exact lineup, but I definitely expect to see a lot of DeAnthony Melton, and I'm excited for it also.
So what is DeAnthony Melton then on this team? Is he the 6th man? Is he the 7th man? What's going to happen? Let's talk then about the bench, right? I mean, what are we going to get from Shake Milton? Is he going to be the Shake that once dropped 40 against Doc Rivers and, he fell in love with him? Or is it going to be this Shake that's been in and out the last couple years, right? I think if we get a productive Shake, you got that combo off the bench, Melton and Milton, right? That would be the next headline. On any Philadelphia, article or newspaper, Melton and Milton dropping a combined 25. Like, how about that? Or how about a Thibault, right? Do we have enough shooting? Do we have enough ball handling off the bench? Who's going to be that dog, that dominant player that every night we say, okay, we know he's going to show up. We know he's going to do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Shake Milton hasn't, the last time he was, I guess, really healthy was that season where we ended up playing Atlanta in the playoffs and losing that series, but he played a major part off the role, and him and Tyrese Maxey at the time coming off the bench were like that 1-2 guys. We had two players coming off the bench that could give you 15 every single night, and some nights they gave you 15. Some nights they gave you 20 and 18, you know what I mean? So It was like, oh my goodness, we have such a dual threat coming off the bench. Who's going to stop us? And you know how that ended up. But yeah, I think Melton and Milton could kind of be that 2.0 with Maxey being a starter now. I think those two guys can, if Shake can get back to what he was, I think the year before last. Last year, he had ups and downs, and then he got his back injured when Embiid, I think, kneed him in the back in an awkward fall or something like that, and he was out for a month, and then he came back and wasn't really himself. He looked hesitant to shoot. I think his shooting form even kind of looked a little bit different to me. It looks more like he's pushing the ball versus releasing it with a nice high arc and flick of the wrist. So he just didn't look totally healthy to me last season. So that's another big if when you're talking about Shake Milton. But if he can play the way that he played the year before, I think him and Melton can be two guys off the bench, and that's just even better for us, man, because when him and Maxey, I just remember seeing those two guys, their stats, they would just be, Maxey 15 and Milton 15 off the bench. It was like, man, we have a guaranteed 30 points off the bench. Who's stopping us?
Perfect.